list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And it still sucks.
It's still Mike.
It's still JB.
This list sucks. Good to be back together again.
Yes.
This is where we
reunited.
The obligatory reunited reference comes.
We're not going
in.
to sing it this time, though. Are we?
United and it feels so good. Sorry.
We've done it every time.
I know. It just, we can't help it. I hope that we fucking.
We need to
hear
get
that
one of
song.
those put into our board here.
Just record it one time and then plug it into the board.
Exactly.
Really ridiculously exciting show tonight because it's a milestone show.
Huge milestone. The biggest one yet.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is.
I would say so. So today we are finishing up the first 100 albums on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. I'm not even sure this button does. That's not the right choice.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. That's the right choice.
First 100 albums down.
Fucking sad trombone.
That's awesome.
Of all the buttons you could fuck up and push,
I
that's
picked
the best one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I had a 12.5% chance.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. New Music Friday though, right?
Yeah.
Did you well, no, you go.
So I actually didn't listen to anything this week, but I was informed about
Wait, you didn't listen to anything this week?
I listened to no music this week.
So all these albums.
I'm hoping that you did your homework and I'm going to kind of bounce off you.
You're just going to make shit up as it goes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fantastic. I actually listened to a lot of new music because I was driving. Right? I was doing a lot of driving today. So I did listen to quite a bit of new music. And my lovely wife, who I love to death, and at some point in time, I think that I may have cajoled her to come onto the podcast.
Hell yeah!
On a YouTube week, like I think we can drag her in, and she showed me how much she loved me today. By after I got to the point where I was tired of trying to play DJ to make everybody else in the truck happy. She goes, well, there's a new music playlist, and so she hit the new music playlist just as a means for me to get exposed to potentially new music that was coming out today. I thought it was very sweet of her.
Did you happen to check out the new Greta Van Fleet?
No. Did that come out today?
Yes, they released it. Well, a new EP.
Oh, another EP. No, I did not dig on that. I did. What the fuck was it? I got to pull it up again. Cause it was, fucking Lana Del Rey.
New album? Full length?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I checked it out because I have to give Lana Del Rey a lot of props on the title of the album. It's called Chemtrails Over the Country Club.
Nice.
Which I love the title of that. But let me ask you this. Are you a big Lana Del Rey fan?
I enjoy her, but I'm not intimately familiar with her work by any means. What
do you enjoy about her?
I mean, I'm not even familiar enough to like put my finger on what it is. I just like her voice from what I've heard. And kind of the timbre of her voice and the style with which she sings, but I can't be any more specific as how moderately or mildly familiar I am with her.
She doesn't have a bad voice by any stretch of the imagination.
But does it stand out to you?
No, it's not. No, it's not that it doesn't stand out because I'm okay with her voice. Like her voice is actually really nice. But what kills me is just the types of songs that she writes. It's like really fucking like. I don't know. It's like sad girl, woe is me.
Yeah.
But that's
kinda
like
dark.
Every fucking song. You know what I mean? It felt like every song was like, got fucked over again. Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird.
I get that.
It's like really, really moody downer music that I can't connect with, but I suspect that if that is a sound and if lyrically like all of that clicks for you, I could see how it would be really, really magic and really good.
Sure. Yeah. If you were like going through similar things in your life.
Yeah. But for me, it just fucking wasn't.
Yeah, we don't have any problems here. We just want to hear happy shit.
I connected more with Justin Bieber, who talked about how he gets his peaches from Georgia and his weed from California.
He released a new album today?
He did.
Oh, geez. What, is it
Are you worried about students being like, JB, I really want to learn the new Justin Bieber track.
It crossed my mind. Yeah. Although I know that none of the students of mine that are listening to this, I'm not worried about you guys at all.
Oh, bullshit.
No,
Come
for real.
on.
None of the students that listen to this podcast would ever dream of that.
Any person that's currently listening to this podcast that's an active student of JB,
don't do this to me.
Please request
you motherfucker.
your favorite Justin Bieber song.
Had to redeem
for everything. Please, if you like this show, if you care anything about this show, please request a Justin Bieber song at your next lesson.
Damn it. Don't do it, guys.
Listen, Justin Bieber is really talented though, and I don't enjoy Justin Bieber necessarily, but I don't get angry at listening to Justin Bieber, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I did not dig the Christmas song of his that we did on the Christmas episode. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
the mistletoe one. That was cringe worthy.
Yeah, it was super cringe, but that was also, I think that was I feel like that was a much younger Justin Bieber that was probably told that he was going to be doing a Christmas album and that it was going to be very successful and that he was going to enjoy doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could be. And he's definitely not untalented.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how much writing he does. I can't say that. I'm not shitting on him. Maybe he does do a lot of writing, but
I think he does actually.
Does he really?
Yeah, I do.
I would just guess based on like his company that he doesn't, based on other artists.
Based on other artists that are similar to him. I did find good gravy. Actually, I don't even want to talk about it. I did find this wild Australian band in kind of that tunnel that we led down.
The new music tunnel?
Yeah, that whole new music playlist that Genevieve started to play for me.
Remember what they're called?
Coyote is the last name of the band. Hang on, I'll find it. Hiatus Coyote.
Showing off our blade. We'll talk about that later, guys. Don't wonder too much.
I know. It's important. It's an important guy. Yeah, so Hiatus Coyote, and Coyote is spelled Kaiyote. That's a crazy band.
Hiatus Coyote.
Yeah. It's really cool. The album that I probably listened to more than any, and I didn't listen to the whole album. I listened to about half of it. It was released in 2014. And the title of it is Choose Your Weapon. Actually, May of 2015. And that album is it's crazy. Because it's kind of like soul, but it's also funk at the same time.
Do you have any idea what kind of instrumentation it is?
Yeah. I can tell you. Hang on.
Wikipedia knows.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's a 4-piece. So Perrin Moss plays bass, Simon Maven plays keyboards and percussion. Paul Bender is on bass guitar, keyboards as well, and then Hiatus Coyote is an arranger, engineer, and producer. So
there's two bass players.
Yeah,
interesting.
It is really. I mean, it's really, really good.
I'll check it out. So they put a new album out today.
They're getting ready to release a new album, so they've dropped a single off the new album. Yeah, and the single was really good, and the single is what made me, kind of look over and say, hey, pull up this album. I want to see what it is. And that's when she said, oh, the whole album's not out yet. But then I had her go back through the previous catalog, and she was the one that pulled up this album because, the song Shaolin Monk Mother Funk.
Hell yeah.
Shaolin Monk Mother Funk.
That's a good song name.
Was like the most played song according to Apple. And so we started playing that. And that happened to be the second song on this larger album, Choose Your Weapon.
Gotcha.
It's really good though.
I'll check it out.
It's really unique too. Just
cool.
Crazy. The fucking drummer is a beast.
Nice.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really, really good stuff.
Never even heard of them. So that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I guess Greta Van Fleet put out a new EP today. That's all I know in terms of new music.
You didn't listen to it yet though?
No. One of our listeners, Shane, who's actually a student of mine as well. So he's probably listening, and hopefully he's not going to be requesting Justin Bieber, but
ask him to teach you, believer.
He told me to listen to it, and I didn't get a chance yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah,
It's
I'm going
Greta
to
Van
as
Fleet.
well.
I
I
think
did Greta Van
maybe
Fleet.
it has the single that they released a couple months ago on it.
Okay, so it's because I thought that a couple of months ago they released basically another EP. I thought.
They just put out a new one today, I think. I'm not sure if it has any of the songs that are before. Are you looking it up?
I am.
Okay, I want that.
I am. The Battle at Garden's Gate.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, so that's actually an upcoming LP. It's gonna have 12 songs on it.
That's the one that has the single, but then they released an EP today.
Well, they've released 4 singles off of this new album that has yet to be released.
Okay, so what are the singles? Can you read them?
Yeah. So the singles they've released thus far are Heat Above, My Way Soon, Broken Bells, and Age of Machine.
So Age of Machine was the one that they put out a while back. So they must have released those other 3 today.
Yeah, and they may have been slowly just dropping them one a week.
Yeah.
Over the past couple of weeks too. Like that's a
But
a typical tactic by record company executives.
I like these guys a lot. But my issue, and it's not even an issue, it's just more of like a comment. Like, the comment that they by far get the most is that they sound like Led Zeppelin, right?
Yeah.
If you maybe they're not trying to distance themselves from Led Zeppelin, but if you were, you probably wouldn't title an album "Battle at Garden's Gate," right?
That's so true.
You know what I mean? Because if you said Led Zeppelin "Battle of Garden's Gate," I'd be like, oh, I somehow missed that record, but that's totally plausible that is a Led Zeppelin record. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The only better thing that they could have done is called it Stairway to Evermore or something along those lines. Like literally just take existing Zeppelin songs and just play word salad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do listen.
They're fun though.
They're fun.
They're super good. They're really talented. And I hear
Yeah.
they have a crazy live show.
I've seen them at ACL.
How was
but
that?
It wasn't, I didn't think it was crazy, but it was also, they only had one album out,
They played it at here in Des Moines, which is where me and Mike are right now, Des Moines, Iowa. And they played it at a venue, and apparently it sold out really quickly, and it was just mind-blowing energy levels and stuff.
That was at Woolies though.
Yeah.
That's listen, for
Woolies is like a 2,000 person venue. Max.
Yeah. For those not from Des Moines, I mean, it's like a large, I don't even know that I would call it a large club. It's like a mid-sized club, right? Isn't that what you would call it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not huge.
No.
Probably 1,500 to 2,000 capacity max.
Yeah. You get 2,000 people in there. That fucker is, you are
It's
packed.
sardines.
Yeah. You're really, really packed in there. And they've done that. Like I've definitely been to packed shows that have been sold out there, but
yeah.
Speaking I guess this was one of them actually.
Yeah. Speaking of Des Moines, and this could lead to a bigger idea, but so Hinterland is a music festival that's here in Des Moines, Iowa, or it's a little bit outside of Des Moines, Iowa.
Just south.
But one of our listeners sent me a picture of the lineup, and they were like, "You should do this list on your podcast." And I was like, maybe that would be cool if we did like little episodes where we covered some high profile music festivals once they get going again,
once they get rolling
around the country, and like kind of dissecting that list of artists that they picked. I don't know how we would do it, if we would pick like the latest album from each artist.
I love that idea.
And do that, or if we would just cover maybe if it was like a bigger list, like where there were 30, 40 artists, and we just did like the top single or top song from each artist. That could be a cool thing to do to highlight some live music going on around the country.
Amen. Yeah. Could be a lot of fun. And especially with Hinterland.
Yeah.
Because that thing
is stacked.
I mean, it's gone, by the way.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many tickets are initially selling. I'm sure that part of it selling out so fast, because Hinterland has never sold out before.
No, it's because they limited
they limited the number of tickets, right?
Yeah, because of COVID. So
yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's like that place would never sell out.
Absolutely
the venue is gigantic. Like if it was open season and we weren't worried about COVID, it would not sell out.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
they would just keep selling tickets for as many people that wanted it. But
just like Alpine Valley,
exactly. Yeah, that doesn't sell out. But I mean, whatever they've limited it to for now, those tickets are gone, and rightfully so.
In like the first 5 minutes or something like that. It was nuts how fast it went.
Dude, you got the Avits, You got Leon Bridges. You got Krungbin. You got Marcus King.
Tyler Childers.
Fuck. Ah.
Black Puma.
Yeah, Black Pumas are on Friday, right? Or are they on
Saturday,
Sunday?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's stacked.
It is.
I mean, it's
going to be
really,
rad.
really stacked. Yeah, it's going to be a very good weekend. I'm super excited about Marcus King.
Yes.
He's probably
really cool.
Yeah, he's probably who I'm looking forward to. And Black Pumas. Marcus King and Black Pumas. I'm probably looking forward to more than anything.
Tyler Childers is going to be fun to see live, I think.
I gotta dig more into him.
Oh, you're not familiar with Tyler Childers?
I'm familiar with A History of Violence. Like but even that album I've probably only listened to 2 or 3 times.
That was his newer one, right?
Yeah.
So there was what was the album that came out before that? I feel dumb for not knowing because I'm a fan of it. But he released an album that has all the Purgatory from 2017. You should dig into that one. Okay. You would love it. Yeah. Guaranteed.
I will. I'm the same way with Billy Strings. I love everything that I've ever heard from Billy Strings, but I've never done like this insanely deep dive into any of his records.
That's kind of where I'm at. I know very little Billy Strings. All I know is that everybody's going crazy about them.
Well, have you heard something from him that you don't like?
No, he's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've heard, and maybe it's just that I haven't like dug in enough, but I haven't heard anything to warrant the amount of like just hilarity I've seen around him. People are just like going crazy for him. Mm. And I'm like, yeah, he sounds good, but I feel like he sounds similar to a lot of other bluegrass artists that I've heard in the jam grass kind of space. But maybe I just haven't. That could be my fault.
I don't think it's your fault. I think it's just your experience with, and I love the phrase jam grass.
Yeah.
That's really what Billy Strings is doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, outside of like Green Sky Bluegrass, like what else?
Yonder Mountain.
Oh yeah,
String band. Fruition. I mean, there's a whole batch of bands in that, and you know, in varying levels of Green Sky Blue. You said Green Sky Bluegrass. Yeah. Probably Yonder Mountain was the pioneer of that movement.
Yeah,
I would think. Leftover Salmon. String Cheese Incident is really that too.
Really, you think String Cheese is as a bluegrass band?
I think that they have
or like jam
such
grass.
A heavy bluegrass influence that you could almost consider them that. Railroad Earth, you know.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, it's definitely a big audience.
Even Rusted Root to a certain to a certain degree.
Yeah,
I enjoy Billy Strings though. I really do.
Reason I was laughing is we received a comment on our YouTube stream from Lee Stamper. That's Lee of onlylee.com for those interested. He's got a special running right now.
He gave us a new message too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we need to get on that. Yeah. But he commented on the YouTube stream and said these guys don't even know Joan Baez, or I don't even know how to pronounce that. It's Baez. Do you know how to pronounce that?
Yeah. Joan Baez.
That's what I'd said. He said these guys don't even know Joan Baez. So sorry, Lee. I wonder, is that Lee or is that
Jimmy Smitherson?
Jimmy Smitherson. How do we access the message that was sent to us?
Oh, we just got to go out to the Anchor page.
I'm on the Anchor page. I'd like to play it if we know how to do that. And I don't know how. Do you remember how to do we go to episodes?
Hang on. Let me get there.
Sorry, I'll look into it too. We're working right now, guys. We want to play a voice message that was sent to us.
A new Jimmy Smitherson.
Yeah.
Jimmy should definitely be played at regular intervals.
I would say so.
Go to create an episode.
Okay.
And then
messages. Okay.
There you go.
We have 2 of them, I think. Person X Part 1 and Person X Part 2 both from Jimmy Smitherson.
Thank goodness.
So I'm going to play these both right now. So here comes Part 1. Jimmy Smitherson.
I don't have much time. I've discovered why this list is so bad and it goes deeper than you can imagine. Genesis 5 outlines early human history from Adam to Noah. Adam lived for 930 years. Lifespan has been declining since then. Why? I'm glad you asked. 5,000 years after Adam, we had Henry V, king of the Romans, which was then equivalent to the king of Germany. How did Henry die? Cancer. Who else died of cancer? George Washington. George George Washington is the first president according to the official story, but is known secretly to have been the 5th president of the shadow government that runs the United States. Speaking of official stories, Oswald is said to have killed Kennedy, yet scholars know he was actually killed by George de Mohrenschildt, who shot Kennedy 5 times.
Holy shit. Okay, we're getting some serious revelations here from Jimmy Smitherson. That was Person X Part 1. Here's Jimmy Smith. I think, by the way, we're not supposed to be unveiling his identity here, and I fucked up. Sorry, Jimmy Smitherson. That's my bad, but you're out there now, so hopefully you can stand by what you've said here. Here's Part 2.
God.
5 Gregorian decades later, we have 9/11. How much jet fuel does it take to melt steel beams? 5 gallons. Who had access to jet fuel in 2001? Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani is the 5th mayor of New York, and who else is a mayor? John Mayer. The M in mayor is a deconstructed 5-point star which signifies Satan. Satan's greatest trick is mimicking Jesus. Jesus can walk on water. A stone can be skipped across water. A skipping stone can also be said to be rolling across the water. A rolling stone gathers no moss. Rolling stone. 500 albums divided by 100 is 5. How many times can the number 5 and the letter G come up coincidentally in history? It can't. Rolling Stone is a tool of the globalists, and the list is a secret roadmap for the proliferation of 5G, the Antichrist of man's making.
Holy shit. Knowledge bomb dropped by Person X, who we don't know who it is.
We have no clue who that is.
Not sure who it is. Anonymous person has sent us
Jimmy
these messages. Wait. Anonymous person to not be named. Disregard what I said earlier.
Relative to the selections for this week, which, thank you, Person X. This is a nice smooth transition to get us right into the albums for this week, because there's a part of me that feels like some of the shit from this week might actually just be fucking globalists.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot we do have a purpose tonight, don't we?
We do have a purpose.
We should probably hit that. Yeah, but I'm kind of scared to continue with this episode tonight based on the revelation that we just experienced. And I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm willing to do it, but
I mean, I don't think that we have any other choice.
Yeah, at this point, we've committed.
Yeah. So if we are, in fact, carrying out a globalist plot to impersonate Jesus as Satan,
there were some flawless lines of logic in that message, and I didn't follow all of them.
Let's talk about 405.
Yeah, let's talk about 405.
Go.
Okay, so yeah, just for those who are unaware, we're going through the list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, produced by Rolling Stone. Came out in September of 2020,
and sucks.
And it also sucks, as do all fucking lists. But today we're finishing up the first 100. And we are doing 405.
Okay, go ahead whenever you want.
Boom. So, in order to celebrate our first 100, we decided to drink some champagne tonight.
Okay, go ahead whenever you want.
And we fucking opened it with a sword that we have here, provided to us by our production manager. Justin Jantis.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
For those that are not watching on YouTube, JB just held up a terrifying champagne saber.
Yeah.
That we're going to be using to open up all of our bottles of champagne. Now tonight,
going forward,
we are enjoying a delicious,
hopefully,
again, brought to the show by production manager Justin, the Blanc de Blancs, a brut champagne created by Trader Joe's.
None other than Trader Joe's.
None other than. So, the first 100 albums on this list, in theory, should be the worst 100. And so we wanted to celebrate tonight by enjoying the worst possible champagne that we could find.
Imaginable.
So, production manager Justin, he actually, I mean, listen, we kind of fuck around with calling him production manager. There's no fucking around with this, though.
He did it up.
He went out and he found a video where a legit sommelier talked about the shittiest possible champagnes that people could find. We watched this poor bastard drink the most heinous champagnes. And this bottle of Blanc de Blancs from Trader Joe's actually received a D-. The look on his face was priceless. It was terrifying and shitty, but
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, JB.
To 100 albums.
100 albums down. Only 400 more to go.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
We're still gonna drink all of it though.
Yeah, this bottle's going down.
Oh, man.
Jesus. Boy, it makes that Asti taste. It's like, it leaves me forlorn.
I'm depressed.
Speaking of depression, though, let's talk about 405.
Should we get into 405? Okay.
Let's jump.
So speaking of depression, album 405 is various artists, nuggets, original artifacts from the first psychedelic era, released in 1972 on Elektra Records. This collection of 60s garage rock, compiled by rock critic and soon-to-be Patti Smith guitarist Lenny Kaye, became a touchstone for 70s punks and years later for the aftershock of post-punk. The 27-track 2LP set was a radical idea in 1972. While rock was getting bigger, Nuggets established a new canon out of forgotten AM radio hits. Brutally simple singles like the Standells' Dirty Water, the Shadows of Nights, Oh Yeah, and the Count Five's Psychotic Reaction. Rhino expanded Nuggets into a sprawling 4 CD box set in 1998.
Okay. That last sentence right there, it made me think that these fuckos at Rolling Stone wanted us to go ahead and listen to 8 hours of this.
Is that the 4 CDs is 8 hours long?
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah, because they put out an 8-hour version of this. This original version is not that long. It's maybe like an hour and a half or something like that at the most.
It's 27 tracks.
Yeah, but they're all fairly short.
They are. I think the longest song on here is like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
but still, fucking 27 of them.
Yeah,
you know.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? Okay, so where'd you go? What do you think about this?
Okay, so none of these songs on this are like really fantastic and really none of them that I really fall in love with necessarily or anything, but it was really kind of cool to get a little bit of an insight into an age that I didn't exist in. And it made me start thinking about just like there's probably several genres of music or periods in music history where we only really get the cream of the crop that we still listen to today.
Yeah.
But there was a whole mess of bands and artists putting out this music during that time, and the stuff that rises to the top and that endures through the ages is only can you get through it? It's only a certain a certain number of the elite individuals. So I didn't hate going through and getting a little bit of a snapshot of what else was out there at the age at the time that, you know, bands like the Beatles and the Doors and all those bands that we know and love were releasing music. These guys were not the only ones doing that. There was this whole other group of people. So while none of the songs I really loved, and I'm not gonna, seek out any of these bands really, it was kind of cool to get a little bit of a snapshot of a different era and see some of the stuff that was going on at the time, whether it was insanely popular or not.
I fucking hated this.
You hated the whole thing?
This is, if I was going to rename this album, I wouldn't call it Nuggets, various artifacts from the first psychedelic era. I would call this Ass Nuggets, one-hit wonders that nobody remembers who sung.
Yeah.
Because that's really what this is, right? This was like, I don't remember when Time Life Books fucking released like one-hit wonders, or it wasn't Time Life Books. Like that was like a VH1 show, right? About bands that only fucking had one hit.
One hit, yeah.
That's what this is, right?
Yeah.
This is literally a collection of
by that definition, if they were one-hit wonders, these should all be decent songs, right?
And decent's a fine word.
But you just didn't like having to drudge through them all, is what you're saying.
No, what I don't like is the idea that we should celebrate a collection of decent songs.
Okay, I respect that.
This is the fucking
thought process.
This is the greatest 500 albums of all time. We just spent last week digging through 5 albums that I would replace every one of those fucking 5 albums from last week. I would put before
should
this.
be on this. Yeah.
I would happily replace this piece of shit with Undertow. I would happily replace this piece of shit with It Still Moves, with fucking Dirt,
with Crimson
Dirt.
King.
Crimson King,
Yeah.
right?
Animals.
Fucking, it's crazy.
For those who didn't check out last week, you really should go check it out. We had like a surprisingly low number of listeners on last week compared to other weeks, because I think it's because it was listed as a bonus episode, and those just simply don't get as much traffic as our main episodes. Less than half, I've noticed, like based on the statistics. But you really should go check that one out, because we went through 5 albums that are fantastic in their own right, and they belong on this list. It was more than a bonus episode. That was a real episode last week. So go check that one out. It says the big bonus episode is what it's titled.
And for the record, that's, I mean, at least 3 of those albums from last week's, it was like it was a big bonus show. It was all about snubs, but 3 of those fucking records are criminally not on this list.
Like,
and we talked
confounding.
we talked about Dirt from Alice in Chains, we talked about Animals from Pink Floyd, and we talked about In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson.
Yeah.
And listen, we also talked about Undertow from Tool, and we talked about It Still Moves from My Morning Jacket, which those 2 records in and of themselves, I think you could make arguments for.
You could definitely argue for it, but those other 3 are like no-brainers.
Yeah. And so the idea that this fucking compilation is going to be on here above any of those 5, much less those 3, is fucking crazy.
It's crazy, but I could say that about a lot of other albums we've come across so far.
I could too, but listen, there's so many things that push my button here, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about a compilation, which that already gets my ire up. And then again, I mean, you said it, right? You're like, all these songs are decent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to be pretty
Decent
much in
sucks.
agreement on this. Like, I am not in the camp of this being on the list at all.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what songs we liked.
Okay.
What songs did you like on this?
I fucking love Liar Liar.
Liar Liar. Let me look at that. Yeah, that was cool. Cool organ on that. A lot of these, I don't know if that's just like a trademark of psychedelic music, but a lot of them had organ on them.
Yes.
Like 90%.
Yeah. And organ
featured.
carried the melody. Like
Yeah.
that was the big feature on here. And that's true of Liar Liar, but that song fucking shreds, dude.
Liar
Like,
Liar was really cool.
Yeah.
I liked the song Tobacco Road. Did you check that one out?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That was actually like a jammer. It had a bass guitar solo.
Mhm.
I thought that was by far the best album, and had a hell of an album cover on that album too. It really was pretty psychedelic. That was the only one that I gave like several stars to.
What did you think about the OG Hey Joe?
So was that the OG?
That's the original.
Was it? I didn't
That's
realize that.
Yeah, so that's the original. Every other Hey Joe that you've ever heard, including Jimmy's, is a cover of that.
Okay,
song.
because I didn't think it was. So I wrote that this. I thought this was a cover.
Nope.
I didn't think that Jimmy was the original version, but I thought someone else did the original version. So that's interesting. This was super high energy version of it.
Right?
I thought it was pretty good. I actually kind of liked it. What'd you think?
Isn't it weird though to hear those lyrics with that much energy?
Yeah, it's like almost like punk. Hey Joe.
Yeah. And it's really
Psychedelic punk.
weird to think about somebody being that happy about going down to blow your old lady.
Yeah,
Or
pretty
like
much.
to shoot your old
Yeah,
lady.
yeah, I know what you meant.
You know what I mean?
There was one kind of thing that was cool. I listened to this on YouTube. And there was a YouTube comment from like an older gentleman.
Mhm.
He has a picture. He looked legitimately old. Anyways, he commented on it and said, I saw this band play Hey Joe at the Whiskey, was what he called it, some bar in 65. He said it was electrifying. And that was kind of cool to read, like just
That
about
is kinda
some guy
cool.
that saw this band play Hey Joe. I don't even know what the band was. Did you have it written down?
No.
Yeah,
I did not write it
That's
down.
okay. We don't need to.
Yeah.
Anyone that's interested can look into the album. There
I
was another
also-
cover on it.
I enjoyed Open My Eyes too. That was way towards the back though. That was almost at the tail end.
Yeah. That kind of reminded me of Disraeli Gears, the record by Queen.
Yeah,
or by
by
Cream.
Cream.
I said Queen. That was kind of similar to that sound. And like that was pretty on the nose when it comes to like what you think of when you hear psychedelic music. Like it was like the vocals were like all delayed and
Yep.
and panned and had
And
weird
panned.
effects on them.
Yeah.
It was very psychedelic. No
And
one would
then-
argue that.
Baby, Please Don't Go.
That's a great song. That's a
fucking
classic blues song. I like the Howlin' Wolf version of that, or maybe it's Muddy Waters. Where do I have that written? What track was that? Okay, Muddy Waters has a solid version of that.
Well, did you read into who that was though?
No. Oh, Ted Nugent played guitar on that. Did you know that?
That was Ted Nugent's first band.
Yeah, I
thought that was kind of. I mean, it's different, right? I mean, Ted Nugent has turned into such a fucking tool.
He's a total douchebag. And so, like, I wrote some good comments about the guitar playing. I looked it up. I was like, oh, fuck, it's Ted Nugent. At the end, though, it did have at the end of that song, someone quoted Third Stone from the Sun, the Jimi Hendrix song. You know that? Yeah. The dun 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 dun. That's like such an often quoted little melody.
Yeah.
I love. There's so many songs that do that.
What stood out for you? What was your favorites?
So, like I said, Tobacco Road was one of my very favorites. I like No Time Like the Right Time. That was towards the beginning. I think I had some bagpipes on it.
Yeah. I like that song too. That was good.
Dirty Water wasn't so bad. Kind of sounded like Satisfaction by the Stones.
Yeah.
That's the thing is a lot of these sounded like other bands.
Yeah. And that was the rub, right?
Did you write anything about the song Lies? Did that sound like any particular band to you? Track 4.
Yeah, but I'm trying to
decipher.
Yeah.
So while I was listening to that, I was like, this sounds exactly like the fucking Beatles. Like so much that like this has to be the Beatles.
Yeah. You know? Now I went to the real track and it's a Beatles ripoff to me.
It's intentionally a Beatles ripoff. Like intentionally. Like I went to the Wikipedia page for the song and they were like, this band hit it big with their intentionally Beatles sound-alike song Lies from this. So like it's supposed to sound like the Beatles, but they pulled it off. It's actually a pretty decent song too. If it's not the Beatles, but it's decent. And it was like, yeah, very intentionally sound alike is what it was like a clickable link on Wikipedia, sound alike.
Wow.
The Beatles.
I wrote that it's catchy and fine, but it wasn't special.
No, it's because it's not like the thing is, even though it sounds like the Beatles and I would believe it's the Beatles, every Beatles song is better.
Yeah.
Even their shitty ones.
Yeah. Even the worst of the bunch is better. No, listen, fuck. Okay, fuck this album. It doesn't belong on the list. Doesn't belong
on the list. I wouldn't. It's not a terrible idea for you to listen to it, especially if you like psychedelic music. And you want to kind of get a little snapshot of a time period that you weren't around for, and you want to get a taste of some of the other bands that were around. It's basically covering psychedelic bands from the late '60s that didn't hit it big.
JB is being unbelievably fucking charitable.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't belong on the list.
No,
I'm not thinking that.
And even the idea that if you dig psychedelic music, if you're thinking to your brain, I love psychedelic music, Dark Side of the Moon might be one of my favorite records of all time. Don't fucking listen
be bummed
to this.
out.
Yeah, you're gonna be really fucking bummed out.
Well, that's later psychedelic. This is early psychedelic.
Listen, this is a lot of fucking organ-driven one-hit wonders. If you want to hear the Smash Mouth from 1964, fucking plug in, buckle up. This one's for you. But if you want to hear something that's compelling and complex,
if you want to hear Smash Mouth, just wait till we get to the top 50 albums and they have Astro Lounge on there.
Joining the snub list soon. Okay. Should we move on? Because I'm fucking not buying. You know what, though? I could have bought this on vinyl.
That's the thing is, like, I wouldn't even lament necessarily having it on vinyl. I'm not going to seek it out. But if it was $5, I'd snag it because it's cool to have some of the old, some of those bands, like I said, that you're never going to hear again, except for on this.
You're going to get one hell of a surprise birthday.
Oh, God. No, give me something better than that.
Okay. Should we move on?
Let's move on. Yeah.
404. 1986 on Elektra Records, Anita Baker's album Rupture. Rolling Stone says before releasing Rapture, her breakout album, Anita Baker spent months, quote, going to every publishing house in Los Angeles, end quote, hunting for what she described as, quote, fireside love songs with jazz overtones. She found 8 songs that satisfied her requirements and polished them until they gleamed, combining an unpredictability that hinted at jazz with reassuring, unimpeachable hooks to create an album of deep, romantic intimacy that sounded like little else in the 80s pop, but still went multi-platinum.
So I didn't dig super far into like the writing of this. So is that meaning that these were all covers?
No. So I did make note of this as I was going through listening to it, and she wrote 3 out of the 8 herself, or at least had co-writing credits on 3 out of the 8.
Just confused by the wording in the description. She found 8 songs that satisfied her requirements.
Well, I mean, her writing some of them, and then others were written by other people. That makes perfect sense to me, because again, this was one of those things that as I got like, because the second album or the second song on the album, she didn't have anything to do with. The third one, she didn't have anything to do with. But then I want to say that Been So Long maybe was written by her, and then there was another one. Maybe it was Watch Your Step. But she also, I mean, she wrote Sweet Love.
Gotcha. That was the big one.
That's the jam.
That was the top single from this record.
And that's a beautiful song, man.
Dude, her band, namely the rhythm section, is tight.
Yeah.
Tight as fuck. And like really, really good. Mainly the bass player. Dude, did that stick out to you on this?
Yeah, absolutely. All the way through.
Dude, right away from like listening to the first song, I was like, holy shit, that bass player is noteworthy. And it just continued all throughout. So much that, not to just jump right into specific songs, but the 5th track, Mystery, had such a cool bass line on it that I gave it 5 stars just because of the bass line. And it was a good song other in its own right, other than that, but just the bass line on that was really cool. Just, yeah, great playing. Good tone all around. Good.
I made note of the bass player on You Bring Me Joy, the 2nd track on the album. I really loved his work on that one. Like, that one stood out to me. And then I loved what he did on Same Old Love, 365 Days a Year.
I loved that song. That was slap bass.
Yeah.
Like
the way that he was popping, like, it was good.
That
really,
was maybe
good.
my favorite songwriting, like my favorite song structure. Just that chorus, like the 365 days of the year.
Yep.
Super good. So yeah, what was your overall opinion though? Did you like it?
I did. I wasn't shocked by it. I wasn't surprised by it. And honestly, by the time that I got to the end of Sweet Love, I knew what I was going to get for the rest of the album.
Yeah, you know what to expect.
And I wasn't disappointed by it.
No.
You know?
You know what the genre is called?
No.
Quiet Storm.
Oh, okay. So this is what they're talking about then, whenever they talk about the Quiet Storm.
Yeah. So the Quiet Storm is actually a song by Smokey Robinson, but then it lent the name of that song to a whole genre. And it basically means like love-oriented, jazz-influenced R&B kind of stuff, like, but smooth jazz.
Like smooth jazz has a love baby with R&B.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
You know, it's not like
good with it.
my preferred genre by any means. I'll tell you that right now. Like, I'm not going to listen to this kind of stuff all the time, but it was a superb example of it. And I did enjoy listening to it a lot. Specifically, the rhythm section was super tight. One thing that stuck out to me was that several of these tracks would be badass samples for like rappers, specifically like Tupac or Biggie. If they were to like sample one of these songs, it would fit right in.
Yeah.
On any of their records, you know,
any of their raps about fucking.
yeah. I mean, definitely
seriously, right?
No, definitely.
And that's like
where love oriented, smooth jazz R&B.
What do you think about the placement? Well, first let's take a step back. Would you keep it on the list?
Probably. Just because I think it was kind of like it helped kind of make that Quiet Storm a genre in general.
Yeah.
And she's a great singer. She has a thick voice. Like I can't think of a better way to describe it. Her voice is big sounding. She's probably like a tenor, I guess. I would think. I don't know 100% on that, but
Dude, she's got range for days.
yeah. But she has kind of a lower voice for a woman, and it's very thick. It's like encompassing. She can she can
It's a
like dig
big-
in.
It's like a really big, full voice.
Yeah.
Right. But it's astoundingly beautiful.
Yeah, she has some really standout moments.
And when you think about the musicianship, which, you've already pointed out, and I completely agree with you on the rhythm section. And then when you get that type of execution vocally, it's a great album.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really great.
Are you cool with it being on the list?
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on what justification?
Her vocals.
Her vocals?
Because I agree with everything that you said about the rhythm section and just the tightness of the backing. But to me, this is her album.
Yeah, she's a star.
This isn't Anita Baker this is Anita Baker.
Yeah.
And I think that she should be celebrated. It's beautiful, it's sweet, it's tender.
I wasn't very familiar with her before this.
I wasn't either.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it.
No, not at all.
I didn't hate it at all. I'm with you. It's not my preferred genre.
I did not add it to digital.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
If I found this record for $5,
you pick it up. Yeah. It's a good one.
If I found Nuggets for $5, I would ask them why they have this thing priced so expensively. Why isn't this in the buy, Felicia?
I thought you were going to say you'd buy it just to break it or something.
No, I wouldn't do that. If I found it for $5, I would buy it and I'd give it to you.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Hopefully not as my birthday present. Just kidding. You don't have to give me a birthday present.
But I would absolutely pick up Anita Baker.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't spend a ton of money on it, but
no, but you could put this on in the background and you wouldn't hate it.
It's a good one for having people over. It's everyone's going to agree with it.
Yeah. Nobody's going to hate it. Nobody's going to hate what they hear out of here. And from that standpoint, I do think it's great. I think it's representational. I don't know that I would put it this high. I was
going to say that too.
I'm probably burying this one north of 470.
Yeah, I was going to say bottom 50.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what I was originally going to say too, but I would even kick.
You want to specifically put it in the bottom 30.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd kick it even a little bit further down the road, but I didn't add it to digital. If I found, like I said, if I found it for $5 or less, I'd pick up the vinyl. For $5 or less, I would.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I would do the same. And so we're pretty much of the same opinion here. This is worth a listen. It's not very long. It's maybe 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Get in there, listen to a couple. In my opinion, if you're going to listen to one track, listen to Same Old Love. I loved that one. It's the 365 days of a year one.
If you're only going to listen to one, for me, it's Sweet Love.
Sweet Love is the first one. Sweet Love.
It's so fucking good. The hook.
It's a good tune.
As soon as you hear that hook, you'll recognize it. And it's butter.
Yes.
Super buttery.
But yeah,
into it.
Let's move on.
Absolutely.
403 is Ghostface Killer, Supreme Clientele from 2000.
Wu-Tang in the cut.
That's right. I feel like I got my whole style from Ghostface, Kanye West has said. Damn, I wrote multiple comments about how this sounds like Kanye West. So I'm glad I didn't pull that out of my ass. And I didn't read this either. So Kanye West has said, lavishly unhinged and viciously hard-hitting, Ghostface Killer's second solo album helped revive the Wu-Tang franchise, marinating lines like Ghost is back, stretch Cadillacs, fruit cocktails hit the shelves at Paul's pasty rack. Yeah. Inserted 70s soul samples. On Nutmeg, he drops a mind-boxing cluster of psychedelic bullshit, then simply stands back during the chorus, letting the tape roll as he mocks all comers. An untouchable champ at the top of his game.
God damn.
So did you know this one?
No.
You didn't know this one. For some reason I thought you would have.
No. I listened to a lot of Iron Man, which was Ghostface's first solo album.
And it's crazy because there's a lot of Iron Man references on this record too.
Well, because that's his
Is that his whole thing?
That's his alter ego, right?
I didn't realize that.
Ghostface is Tony Stark, who's Iron Man.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah. So Ghostface's first solo one out of the gate was named Iron Man.
Right.
and this was the follow-up to Iron Man. I loved this though. I really do love Ghostface. I love him a lot.
He's badass.
Yeah.
He has a great voice, and his rapping style and his voice even makes me think of Kanye so much.
Does it really?
It really does. I wrote it on the second. Well, it's the first track, but because the intro, yeah, Nutmeg, which I loved, probably was my favorite one on there, maybe. And did you like that one?
I did love it, but I also loved Buck 50. Buck 50 was fucking that was a fucking banger, dude. And
that was with Method Man Capadonna, right?
Absolutely.
It's basically a Wu-Tang track.
Absolutely. No, because there was also Redman on there too. And I'm a fucking huge sucker for Redman. I love Redman so much.
Yeah.
And so it was everything. It was Meth, it was Capadonna, Redman was in there too. The beat on Buck 50 was fucking dope.
And there was a funky
good
guitar riff on that one too,
Yeah.
actually. Like very few tracks had guitar. That one did.
Yep.
But yeah, even so in Nutmeg, which basically is the first track on the record, I wrote down, I think that he influenced Kanye's rapping style, not his production style by any means, but his rapping specifically.
Yeah. One of the things that stood out to me about this whole record is, and when I was digging into it as I was listening to it, not on the cold listen, but like in the follow-up listen where I was trying to pay more attention to the verses, which the only knock that I have against Ghostface is Ghostface does like to create rhymes for the sake of rhyming, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Because a lot of it, and I would argue that maybe some of it was done, but a lot of it sounds like freestyling.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some of it was freestyling, actually.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I think there's a good chance. It's very stream of consciousness. And when you're doing that kind of freestyling, you're going to make rhymes, and you're going to put rhyme as the utmost priority beyond making any kind of overarching sense.
Yeah. It's not storytelling rapping. It's more based upon the flow and the rhyme.
That's right.
Which I appreciate. And I love the tone of Ghostface's voice. Like I love his tenor, and I like the way that he puts together.
Yeah, it's not like too high.
Rhymes.
Like
no.
Eazy-E is very high.
Yeah.
And I love Eazy, don't get me wrong.
I love Eazy too.
And then there's rappers that are super low, like Biggie's pretty low voice kind of,
or like Charlie Tuna from J5. Like he's like way down there.
That's even lower. But he's kind of right in the middle, pretty mid-rangey.
Yeah.
You know, like a tenor of the rap world.
This album came out at a time where almost everyone from Wu-Tang Clan after Wu-Tang Forever was out doing more solo stuff, and they had done that between 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever, but everybody was being farmed out. And from what I read, almost everybody else was like, RZA kind of directed some of these individual artists to work with other producers, but RZA wanted to produce this album. And if you look at the vast majority of these tracks were produced by RZA, and what I was reading on Wikipedia is it was saying that even tracks that technically have production credit from other producers, when they came back, RZA went over them again and sometimes made changes and edited.
Made sure you got the RZA signature.
That's right. Yeah. And so that's one thing that I think you get with this record is it sounds more cohesive with other Wu-Tang releases, because every Wu-Tang album is produced by RZA, right? And he's doing the vast majority of the beats, and he's putting together the backing that everybody is putting their flow on top of. And so that to me is maybe the most special part of this record, because it sounds like a RZA record is what it sounds like.
I feel like I remember reading that maybe this was the most successful of the Wu-Tang offshoot albums.
In terms of sales, possibly.
In terms of sales, yeah.
In terms of sales, possibly. But, you know, it's hard to overcome Tikal, which was Method's first solo release. And it's really hard to overcome Raekwon, Only Built for Cuban Links, which actually, that's the nice part about what this album did, is this album made me like dig back into other Wu-Tang
offshoots.
Yeah, other Wu-Tang offshoots, and particularly Only Built for Cuban Links by Raekwon. That might be my favorite offshoot album of all time. It's a fucking stone cold classic. And it, listen, if that record is not on this list, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, it's a stone cold classic.
A lot of this just kind of seemed like Wu-Tang to me, though. You know, it was very similar, and like a lot of the songs have several members of Wu-Tang on them. You know,
Yeah.
several of them you could almost be like, this is just a Wu-Tang Clan song, minus one or two guys. You know,
Well,
what I
and
mean?
especially Buck Fitty, right? Like Buck Fitty is there.
Wu Banga 101.
Wu Banga 101.
Yeah.
Listen, Wu Banga 101, literally, that
It's
is
just a straight up
Wu-Tang
Wu-Tang
song.
Clan song.
Yeah, you got like Inspector Deck on there. You got Capadonna. You got Raekwon is on there.
Master Killer's on there.
Master Killer's on there. Yeah.
Jizza. You know,
Well, and Jizza's featured on another song too. And Jizza, so outside of Only Built for Cuban Links, Liquid Swords by Jizza, and even Liquid Swords 2. God damn. And Liquid Sword should be on this album. Should be on this list as well.
probably is.
If it's not, fuck you. Because Jizza is
Well, we know this list sucks, but
Jizza's a genius. A genius.
yeah. But another characteristic of this record is the production is very simplistic. Most of the tracks are very repetitive and simple. There's not a whole lot going on because that's not the point. The point is the rapping. That's straight up. This is not a hip hop. It's not a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like a heavily produced. It's not about the music necessarily. The music is there to support one thing, which is the rapping. The entire album is all about just the rapping.
This is also classic 90s hip hop where I think, do you remember how many tracks were on this fucking thing? 19?
21.
Okay, 21, and at least 7 were just skits.
Yeah, but they were not annoying skits necessarily.
One of my favorite skits of all time.
Is it
Go.
Clyde Smith?
No.
Because that one cracked me the fuck up, dude.
Dude, Clyde Smith is hard, right? Do you know who that was on Clyde Smith, by the way?
No, who was it?
You didn't read into that?
No.
So that was Raekwon using a voice modulator talking mad shit.
Dude, it was
about
cracking me
50
up. Oh, about 50 Cent?
Yes, that's who he was talking about.
So he was
Mad
pretending
shit.
to be 50 Cent?
Yeah, it was basically like a diss track.
He's making fun of like 50 Cent thinks he's hard.
Yes.
Yeah, because it came across like that. This guy was like being like way overinflating his himself and acting like a badass when he wasn't. It was funny. It was pretty funny.
And there was a lot of hype like when this came out about, like it was Ghostface creating beef with 50 Cent, and then it turns out that it's really Raekwon that recorded that. So then it turned into did Raekwon have beef with 50 Cent or what the fuck was happening? And at the end of the day,
Who knows?
I don't think anybody had beef with anybody. Like Raekwon even came out and said, he was like, listen, I was just
fucking around just for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, this wasn't real shit or anything.
So is it Woodrow the Basshead?
No, I actually loved Who Would You Fuck?
Is that the one with the song playing in the background?
There was a song playing in the background, and the whole, like, it was literally whoever.
Rain, go away. Come again another day. That's Who Would You Fuck?
Was it? Was that playing
Yeah.
in the background the whole time?
Rain.
I was paying more
rain, go
attention.
away.
I was paying more attention to just, I mean, they were literally playing a game of Who Would You Rather, right?
Basically.
And they
yeah.
were throwing out like Missy Elliott appeared in one of them with somebody else. But my favorite part of that skit is when they got to the end of it and they said, they were asking Janet or Chrissy. And you're too young to get this because you were fucking born in the 90s. So they were making a reference to Three's Company, which was like this crazy sitcom.
No,
that
I've heard the term. I mean, in like a museum, I think, or something.
So,
I'm just kidding.
So Three's Company
heard
was
the
a
show.
sitcom on in the early 80s about Jack Tripper, who was a man living with two women, Janet and Chrissy. And Jack had to pretend to be gay so that it wasn't too risque for him to be living with two women.
But he was with both of them.
No, he wasn't. They were just all friends, but he had to pretend to be gay anytime the landlord came around, and the landlord was either Mr. Roper or Mr. Furley. They had,
Depending on the season.
yeah, depending on the season or whatnot.
Three's Company too.
But Janet
I've heard
and
the
Chrissy were like the two. They were the
The two chicks.
Yeah, and so Chrissy was played by Suzanne Summers, who was like Thigh Master Suzanne Summers, right? She was a smoke show in the 80s. And Janet was also hot for the record. She was just she wasn't blonde, right? Like she was the brunette to Chrissy's blonde. So when it got to that point, like, and then if you listen to it, there's other jokes about the Regal Beagle, which is a fucking tavern in the show. I loved that show growing up. And so it took me back and it just made me laugh. It made me laugh really fucking hard.
Nice.
So if you're into Three's Company, go and check out
Who Would You Fuck? If you like Three's Company, you'll love Who Would You Fuck?
Listen, this record belongs to be on the list. I'm okay with the placement of it. Well,
you think it should be lower?
I think that I would rather see All Eyes on Me above.
That's exactly where I was going
this
with that.
album.
I think that
I'd be okay with they flip swaps.
I don't even hate where it is. I just think All Eyes on Me was criminally low.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that too. But if you told me, listen, Mike, we'll swap the two. So Ghostface is 436 and Tupac is 403. I'm game. And I would be okay with that. I mean, I would probably still complain that Tupac is too low, but it would at least make more sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. But this is a fun one. If you're a hip hop fan, check it out.
Absolutely.
Supreme Clientele, Ghostface Killer.
All right.
Do you think there's a couple of Wu-Tang records on this?
A couple.
There's a couple of them.
Listen, if fucking Raekwon doesn't pop up on this list, if Only Built for Cuban Links is not on this list, I'm going to be thoroughly
How many
upset.
actual Wu-Tang Clan albums are there?
One.
Which one is it? What's it
Enter
called?
the 36 Chambers.
See, I'm like not super familiar with
And 36
Wu-Tang Clan.
Chambers should probably be in the top 100, maybe in the top 50.
Records in general? Whoa.
If you've never listened to Enter the 36 Chambers, which is I
probably listened to most of the tunes individually, but I'd never sat down and listened to the album in a row.
It's got, I mean, you've heard Cream, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Enter the 36 Chambers is special. And if you've never heard it before, it is, I mean, if you haven't spent a lot of time with it, yeah, buckle up. But
Cool.
that should be top 100. And if you told me it was in the top 50, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow. Interesting.
Super solid.
2 more records tonight.
Absolutely. So 402. Kila Foodie from 1975.
Wait, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Fela Kuti and Africa 70s album Expensive Shit from 1975. Rolling Stone says the title track is a 13-minute odyssey that epitomizes Nigerian funk king Fela Kuti's knack for channeling fearless social commentary into body-moving grooves. The Africa 70 horns blare out infectious riffs as peerless drummer Tony Allen keeps up an indefatigable Jiminy
That was a word.
Indefatigable shuffling pulse while Fela calls out the fools who would use your shit to put you in jail. Side 2's Water No Get Enemy slows things down to a celebratory strut, concluding a short yet sweet effort that plays like a primer on the joys of Afrobeat. I fucking loved this record like nobody's business.
Yes, it was fantastic. And sorry, I wasn't trying to pick on you, but I thought it was funny that you switched the syllables.
That I switched the syllables.
Kila,
Yeah, I know.
Kila Foodie. That's such an easy one to do on accident. So anyone can do it. It's not your fault. I would have probably done it if I was doing it, but I had to point it out.
No, listen, rightfully so, because Fela Kuti deserves all of the credit that I could possibly give him. To start with, this is 24 minutes.
This album is 2 songs.
It's 2 songs. Yeah. There's 1 song on side A. There's 1 song on side B. I'm going to buy the vinyl. I did add this to digital. I added Fela Kuti's album Zombie to digital as well, because as soon as I heard this, I immediately jumped out and said, what the fuck else has this guy done? And I listened to that and I downloaded that, and I'm going to hunt all of it. I'm going to hunt down as much of his vinyl as I possibly can, because it's.
Were you unfamiliar before?
Yeah. Never heard it before.
Yeah.
Never.
Interesting.
Were you familiar?
Yes. Not necessarily with this album in particular, but with Fela Kuti. Because one of my good friends who has also been a musical collaborator of mine throughout the years, his name is Daniel Mastrovsky. he'd be a good candidate to have on the podcast one day. He kind of turned me on to him because I was playing some funk stuff on the guitar. He's a fellow guitar player, and we've played together, like I said. And he was like, "You need to listen to Fela Kuti because of the way you're trying to go for it. You're sounding kind of like Fela Kuti in what you're in this part on this one song or whatever." And so I ended up listening a lot to him, and he's a big influence on my rhythmic guitar playing. I try, nowhere near.
So does he play guitar?
He actually
too?
does play guitar, but he doesn't play on this record.
Yeah,
but just like the style of guitar that pops up on a lot of Fela Kuti's records.
And that makes perfect sense to me, right? Yeah. Because the guitar, that's literally the first thing you hear.
Yeah, it starts off with
expensive shit. Is that guitar, that rhythm guitar that, and I can't remember what the rhythm is exactly.
It's very snappy, and he's playing. And he's really playing one chord and embellishing, changing like one note or something like that.
He's doing it all with his right hand.
Yeah, it's all in the right hand. It's all in the wrist.
That's right.
Just like Nile Rodgers, but different style.
But a different tone. And fuck, it's just magic, right?
Yeah.
Because that sets the table, and then it's DJ Method because he just starts adding stuff on top of that.
Exactly, DJ Method.
And when the fucking horns come in, it's like
boom, it all comes together.
Ah,
yeah.
It's like a party. The angels up on high start singing, and God.
And there was actually another guitar track on it. It was like the rhythmic track was like going, and then on the other side there was like a like a little guitar that was almost inaudible, but it was panned to the right, and he was playing just single notes. He wasn't playing chords, and it was rhythmically lining up. It was just, like you said, it's DJ Method. They're adding stuff in.
Did you dig into the instrumentation on this at all from the Africa 70?
Like pertaining to what in particular?
Pertaining to what instruments were on there.
There were a lot.
Did you
I know
notice
that Fela Kuti played a million instruments on this?
Well, he played alto, tenor, piano. Everything else he was credited with was just composition and arrangement, really, and conducting. So it sounds like he was conducting the Africa 70, and then maybe he laid his parts over the top of it. But within the Africa 70, there was the rhythm guitar player, which was really, really obvious. And I think what you're talking about is they called it a tenor guitar.
Okay, yeah, I do remember seeing that. Yeah, and I should be able to tell you about all about that, seeing that's what I do for my job, but I can't.
So it's a 4-string guitar that was originally designed for banjo players that wanted an easier transition to guitar.
Interesting.
And I wonder if that's what you were hearing.
Could have been
like hand on that one side, because if he was playing the same guitar melody but over single notes, that would be relative to what banjos typically do, right?
Well, that's the thing, like with a lot of these different ranges of guitars, like there's also a baritone guitar, and there's obviously a bass guitar.
Yeah.
But like you could play the same, like whatever riff they were playing. I don't know if it was on a tenor guitar or not. You could have played it on a regular
guitar. Sure.
Just in exactly the same octave. You could have played the exact same thing. It might not have the same timbre that is created by the size of the tenor guitar or whatever. But so sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, but that's interesting. That's what it was. Yeah.
If that's what it was, right? Because
it could very well have been.
Because I was just looking down the instrumentation overall, because especially when the horns come in, like it's so full and it's so big that I was like, okay, what's all in this mix, right? Like what's all in this gravy? And so I started digging down through there, and that was where I uncovered that tenor guitar. And when I saw it, I was like, I don't know what the fuck this is. And so then I, again, down the rabbit hole, but
yeah,
loved it.
Really, really great. Incredible sax playing, throughout. And the rhythm guitar keeps that thing going up for like all 13 minutes.
All 13 fucking minutes.
His wrist must have been exhausted.
Smashed his wrist.
Dude, by the end of this, like, what if he's playing this live? I mean,
no thanks. Yeah. Did you dig into the backstory?
Yeah, of like so he was like held captive by the police basically, and they were waiting for him to take a shit basically.
Yeah, because supposedly a joint was planted on him
and he ate it.
And so then they held him in a holding cell until he took a shit, so that way they could examine the contents of his shit and potentially charge him with possession. But haha, joke's on you, because he actually used the shit of another person that was being held inside of his cell. Now, how he managed to do the shit transplant, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was somehow able to pull off a shit transplant, and
we can all aspire to that. Yeah. But yeah, that's an incredible story.
But that was the joke, was that it ended up being a really expensive shit.
It actually reminds me of a funny story that I just want to go quick offshoot on. It's not really topical, but and this is from my younger years. I'm going to incriminate myself here, but so I was at a Warren Haynes band concert in the downtown Des Moines. I was probably 18 years old, and I was with a group of friends, and my friend had a joint with him, and our goal was we were going to go talk to Warren Haynes after the show. So we went around to the show. We went around and found his tour bus. We found it. And my friend had a joint, and his goal was we're gonna have Warren Haynes smoke this joint with us. Warren Haynes is surely gonna invite us onto his tour bus, and
of course.
So, anyways, we're walking by, and we're right outside of it was at Simon Estes Amphitheater in downtown Des Moines. There's a hotel right behind Simon Estes called Embassy Suites, and so we were walking by Embassy Suites, and literally just a simple, $14 an hour hotel security guard comes out of the door. My friend panics thinking it's a police officer, eats the joint that he has. He literally ate it. And then because a fucking hotel security guard comes out, and we end up going up to Warren Haynes' tour bus, and we actually meet Warren Haynes. And we talked to him a little bit. We talked to him a little bit. We tell him that our friend ate the joint. Turns out he was willing to smoke that joint with us. So we talked to him for like probably 20 minutes, but we could not do that because my friend ate it. So that's unbelievable. That actually happened.
Warren Hayes literally looked at you and he's like, "Damn, it's a shame you ate that joint."
Dude, he was like, it was funny because we told him that our friend ate it, and he was confused. He was like, well, why did you do that? We were like, we don't even have a good reason for that. He saw a hotel security guard. He didn't even see a cop. That's really happened, though.
That's one expensive shit right there.
That's right. Yeah.
That's another expensive shit. The title track, fantastic. What was the name of the other one?
Water No Get Enemy.
Water No Get Enemy.
Jazzy. Afrobeat right off the bat. That's another thing, is like he kind of pioneered the genre of Afrobeat, I guess. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So even if you go to Afrobeat, the genre, like the page for that on Wikipedia, it mentions him in the main description. So it says Afrobeat is a music genre which involves the combination of elements of West African musical styles such as Fuji music and high life with American jazz and later soul and funk influences, with a focus on chanted vocals, complex intersecting rhythms, and percussion. The term was coined in the 1960s by Nigerian multi-instrumentalist and band leader Fela Kuti.
I felt this was so much more funk.
There was definitely a lot of funk.
Yeah.
So my opinion was the first song was funk and the next song was jazzier. So I think that Expensive Shit was very funky. And then Water No Get Enemy was a little heavier on the jazz side of things. Jazzy soul.
Yeah. I feel that. His sax playing is so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, and it was both a combination of the alto and the tenor. His piano work, I really, really dug too. But
solid.
The sax solo, particularly on Water No Get Enemy, was just fucking nice.
Yeah, it was badass. And that was really like a traditional jazz form.
Yeah.
Which what I mean by that is there's a little head riff. You play the head riff, and then you go off and you solo, and you take turns soloing.
Did you notice near the end of Water Get No Enemy, the guy that comes into the chorus with the super fucking deep voice? Did you pick up on that, dude?
Was that Fela?
I don't know if it was Fela or not, like, because there were all these vocal layers and there were definitely female voices like that were in there with Fela's voice.
Yeah.
But one of them was just like it really stood out as like a super low voice.
I think that was him. So like,
do you think so?
Because there was like rhythmic chanting, and then he was like, it was almost call and responsey.
A little bit, yeah.
I think it was Fela Kuti was the low voice.
That's crazy.
Because he does the low voice on the first song.
Okay.
and it's higher, but it's
Yeah.
you know, but
Because in the second one, I mean, it was fucking
Bassy,
low.
yeah.
Yeah, he dug deep.
well, if
like
you're
super
thinking of the
deep.
same thing I'm thinking of, I think that was Fela Kuti, but I could be wrong.
Nice.
But yeah, great album. I will definitely be finding the vinyl on this, as
Yeah.
you had said you'll be doing the same.
Yeah,
So,
me too. And I also want to find the vinyl of Zombie because I dug into Zombie after I listened to this album. Like I immediately turned to and I was like, "Where have you been all my life, Fela Kuti?" And
similar to King Sunny Ade.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was the reminiscence. You know, I dug this more
Right
because
on.
it was funkier. It was funkier and it was jazzier.
Yeah.
You know, King Sunny Ade was fun, but
It's more exploratory and droney and yeah.
yeah, and the subsequent King Sunny stuff that I found, it was more heavily produced, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I felt like the other stuff that I was listening to with Fela Kuti sounded more like it was a more uniform sound throughout the catalog,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And I dig it.
Definitely makes sense.
I mean, I really, really love it. So yeah, I'm gonna track it down
cool.
and I'm gonna track down more. So
Same. Yeah.
let's wrap her up.
Fantastic. Last album of the
Mhm.
evening. Coming in at number 401. So the top of the bottom 100. The best of the worst. Little inside joke there. We have Blondie, and her debut album is Blondie. So from 1977, as Rolling Stone describes, we're going to shoot the tube, Debbie Harry promises on In the Sun, hanging 10 on the Bowery. Blondie had a hard time getting taken seriously in the CBGB punk scene. But while the band's debut celebrates 60s rock and roll at its campiest, girl groups, garage trash, surf, bubblegum, Harry's hard-on sleeve swoon during In the Flesh sincerely updated the Shangri-Las for the Lower East Side circa 1977, and the gritty Ripper to Shreds showed Blondie could get down with the tough guys too. I gotta say, I'm a little bummed that this is capping off our first 100. I mean,
I'm more
I think
than a
this
little
is
bummed.
like not. I don't hate this record by any means. Just say that, but it's just an underwhelming close to the top 100.
It's bizarre to me.
Yeah,
It's bizarre.
bizarrely placed. Do you think?
Yeah, because if this would have been Parallel Lines, I would have totally got it.
Yeah.
And Parallel Lines, for those that don't know, is Blondie's maybe their second or third album released in, I want to say it was released in 1979.
The one
maybe.
with Call Me, right?
It has Call Me on it, and it has One Way or Another. One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you one way. Come on.
I don't know what that had to do, but I wanted to do it. So champagne. Cheers, everybody.
Seriously though, I would have got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really would have got it. And I would have said, you know what? This album is on this list at this spot because One Way or Another is just too catchy for fucking words. And Call Me, that is Blondie's.
That's good
song.
old Blondie rock and roll. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it doesn't get any more Blondie than fucking Call Me. Right?
Yeah.
Or wait a minute. Wait, hold 1 second.
Is that not on there?
It is not.
Oh shit.
It's Heart of Glass.
That's okay. That the Heart of Glass is the album that
No.
Call Me's on,
No.
or Heart of Glass is the song that you're thinking of that's on there.
Parallel Lines. Yes. Okay. So Parallel Lines has Heart of Glass, not Call Me. Call Me is on a subsequent album. Parallel Lines has Heart of Glass, which
And One Way or Another.
and One Way or Another. Yes. So One Way or Another is on there, but Heart of Glass is that's the big disco send up that appears on Parallel Lines, and it's every bit as good as Call Me.
Huh.
Call Me is probably the more signature song that everybody knows Blondie by, but fucking Heart of Glass is a tremendously wonderful song.
I'm not familiar, at least by name. I'm sure if I heard it.
We'll listen to it after the show.
We play
is
it
over.
now, but we'll get taken off
Yeah,
YouTube.
we'll get taken off YouTube. So we can't play it now, but when I play it for you later, you're going to go, oh yeah, I know this fucking song.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And it's a really good song. So this one is just it's a weird head scratcher to me.
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple fun tunes on it.
What was your favorite? What was your standout?
Probably Kung Fu Girls.
I dug Kung Fu Girls.
That was
fun.
probably my favorite one. I liked that was a nice song. Just from a songwriting standpoint, that was a nice tune where it had like a nice major key resolution on the chorus that it goes to, which is really nice. That was pretty solidly catchy, and that was kind of punky to me. Like some of the stuff was almost like borderline punk rock-y, in my opinion.
A little.
Yeah, I mean it's pop rock really at its core, but
yeah.
And a lot of it is surf poppy, but then a couple of it is like punk rocky, and a couple of the tunes are punk rocky, and that was the one that I like punk rock, so I like that one.
A lot of this record was bizarre because it was surf rock.
Yeah, very surf poppy, like Beach Boysy.
Yeah, a lot of Beach Boys' surf rock appears on this record, which is weird to think that this is a band that's playing in the Lower East Side in the late 70s. And they're going on before or after the fucking Ramones.
Perhaps explains why she had a hard time breaking into the CBGB scene.
A little bit,
yeah.
Right? Like that just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, what I will say in support of this album, and perhaps why this album is on here and in this spot, is because they did do a lot of really unique things. Right. They tied together a lot of disparate decades of music, and they wrapped it up into one kind of weird, concise picture.
Yeah, I guess.
But with that being said, I want to echo what you said from the top, and that this feels really weird to be rounding out the top 100.
And I know they weren't thinking about it that way probably when they made the list. They're not like, we have to really have a banger to close off the top 100 for these podcasting guys that are going to cover this.
They're going to be drinking shitty Trader Joe's champagne
That's
while
right.
they talk about these 5 albums.
But yeah, I mean, you'd think that would be somewhat of a notable number, 401, your top of your bottom 100, you know.
A shark in Jet's clothing was cute.
Yeah, like that was kind of like synth poppy, didn't you think? A little bit.
Yeah, but the joke was the West Side Story gag.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And the West
Sharks and the Jets.
Yeah, and the West Side Story gag is like a wink and a nod. And you're in the East Village, and West Side Story took place in New York. And
West Side Story is just Romeo and Juliet, though, right?
It is Romeo and Juliet, but it takes place in New York.
In New York, and
yeah, right. So it's like, haha, get it? Yeah, we get it. You know, we all live here. Kung Fu Girls was fun.
Attack of the Giant Ants was kind of fun. Kind of a fun little closer.
That was the punkiest shit they had, right?
It almost reminded me of Sparks.
Yes.
The Kimono My
House.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they complete with the breakdown with like the screaming ants in the middle, like and it was funny because it was like a terrifying monster song with monsters like murdering people and stuff, but then it was like super poppy, upbeat,
really happy,
joyous. Yeah. What were you gonna say
happy. Though? Rip Her to Shreds. What did you think about Rip Her to Shreds?
Was that the trash talking tune?
Yeah.
That was like catty trash talking. It was punk rocky. It kind of reminded me of Joan Jett a little bit. Just like talking shit, but also it was kind of surf punky, surf rock. Or surf. I wrote surf rock, and then I wrote at the end surf punk.
I went a little bit down a rabbit hole on that song because originally people thought that it was written about Nancy of Sid and Nancy fame, right? So Sid Vicious's girlfriend, Nancy.
Gotcha.
That was kind of like the thought was that she was shitting on Nancy, but in all reality, she came out with an interview later and she said, no, not really. I was more talking about how women get treated by the press in general. And so she said that song was just as much about me as it was about Nancy. And after I read that, I went back and I listened to it and I was reading the lyrics, and it's really it's a pretty powerful song.
I like it better with her description because
I do too.
It's more impactful. It's intelligent songwriting.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it from the standpoint of this is a woman who, I mean, this is fucking 40 years before Me Too, that's basically talking about how it sucks to get treated by the media as a woman. If you listen to it from that lens, boy, it becomes a much different song. Like I thought about it much differently, and I had a much different appreciation.
Well, I need to listen back with that in mind.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the Pet Shop Boys, right? There was that one Pet Shop Boys song that was about
shopping.
Yeah, shopping.
SHOPPING.
Yeah. If you just take that song on its face, you're like, what the fuck?
You're like,
then
yeah,
when you
what a
think
waste of
about it
time.
as they wrote it as, you know, basically a response to Margaret Thatcher trying to get, you know, Englanders to get out there and do their English bit by doing some shopping.
Headier than you expect when you first listen to it.
It's got a far deeper meaning. And I felt the same way about Rip Her to Shreds. It made me really appreciate the song for what I felt like she was trying to do after I read that bit that she wrote.
Yeah. And I respect that for sure. That's I'll definitely listen back with that in mind. But yeah, overall, I mean,
what are you going to do with this?
Even her voice on this at times would bug me a little bit. It's a little pitchy.
Now I do like Debbie Harry. I'm a sucker for her voice.
So it had like a certain warmth to it, which at times I really loved. And I wrote that. I actually wrote that. I was like, there's like a certain warm tonality that comes through a lot, which I really like when she finds that. But then there's other times where she was just a little pitchy, and like honestly drives me crazy. Just to be honest. So
see, and luckily my ear is way shittier than yours, and so
now I sound like a jackass, acting like I have such a good ear that this is just. I'm not saying that at all. It's just a couple notes she hits, just like gets under my skin.
For the record, definitely not. I am not saying that. Like, I'm being legitimate whenever I say that I don't have a great ear. And so, you know, when you get somebody with a good ear, like if you hear somebody saying, yeah, man, that's fucking pitchy, like I believe you. I'm just
but it doesn't bug you.
It doesn't bug me.
Yeah,
no.
That's fortunate.
And I really like the tenor of her voice. I like it. Yeah. I really do. You know, flaws and all, I guess is the best way to say it.
And flaws are good. I'm not saying they're not good, but for me, it was just, I'm not even keeping this on the list, to tell you the truth. I didn't hate it, but I'm taking it off.
I am too.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy part. I didn't add it to digital because to me, this is just not necessarily, this isn't something that I'm going to go back and listen to on the regular basis by any means possible. But I do want to see Blondie on the list. I just want to see Parallel Lines. And I suspect that we're going to see Parallel Lines on the list later on.
Yeah.
And when you listen to that album, I really think that you're going to enjoy it a tremendous amount because it's much more mature than what we get on the self-titled album. Like it's
agreed.
It's a fuller sound. I like the production on it better. Yeah. But for this one, I'm with you. And again, in light of the episode that we did last week with all of those big bonuses, just this one doesn't cut it for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't cut it for me.
It's not going to make the cut. Yep.
No.
Agreed.
Not at all. Now, I want to take a couple of minutes because friend of the show, Rex Todd, like he was Johnny on the spot. So on Nuggets, he loved the short era of music. He thought it was fantastic insight into the far out movement. He liked the catchy choruses. He thought they were foot tappers. He said that it needs better track arrangement though. And he was hoping that this record would be like a rabbit hole getting further and further down, but it just wasn't. But he did dig it. Loved Sweet Love and You Bring Me Joy on Rapture from Anita Baker. He said it was cheesy, but he dug the vocal strength, the falsettos, and all the rest of that jazz. Ghostface, Rex was way down. He loved it. He loves Wu-Tang. Listen, we all love Wu-Tang. Lyrically impressive, and the DJ instrumentals and hooks. Yeah. Listen, Rex says it. Lyrically impressive, but the DJ instrumentals and hooks steal this album from Ghost. And basically what he's saying is that RZA fucking stole this album from Ghost with his beats and his production. And I tend to agree with that.
That's interesting because I said like almost exactly the opposite. I said like the production was very bare bones, which it was.
It was, but those beats.
They're great. Don't get me wrong, but they're there to support the rapper, in my opinion.
I get you. 2 minutes and 24 tracks, question mark, exclamation point, question mark. Okay, just with those facts alone, this tells me something. He's accomplished what other artists with 6 times as many tracks didn't do. Get on this list. Wonderful jazz track, lively and untempo, as socio-political lyrics dance within themselves. It's a great listen. It really is. All of it impressed. And that was Fela
Kuti. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the fucking hero for me this week. Man, that fucking album is so good. So good. So for the self-titled Blondie, this is fascinating. He said, I thought this album would be in the 350s.
Oh, interesting.
At least. Love Debbie Harry. Great tracks from Blondie that are a great nod to 1960s pop with their own twist. Love this album. It's a gem.
He's not wrong at all.
No, he's not wrong. It's just a judgment track, right?
Yeah.
Because he actually wants to move this thing up, and I'm with you. I'm not even keeping it because I would rather have a different Blondie album on this list.
Yeah. I'm not going to keep it, but I don't hate the record.
Yeah. And that's and I definitely don't want to hate on it at all. A couple of things, a couple of other listener emails that I want to get to.
Yes.
Friend of the show, soon to be guest, coming up in a couple of weeks, actually. Heather Barkley sent us an email about a snub. Heather Barkley is also my sister, by the way.
Yes. And you go ahead and read it.
Yeah. So Heather says for her snub, she goes, I know you aren't into spoiling the list for yourselves, but I ran across a snub and I'm really confounded by it, considering how many articles have been written about this version of the list being more inclusive, especially for women. Her snub, Dreamboat Annie by Heart.
Which is already on our listener snub list. So that's a second vote for Heart, Dreamboat Annie by Heart. Because
I feel like we should do that next week.
You want to do that one next week?
Is our snub?
Well, unless we do... So we could do that, or what we could do is we could save up until we get 5 listener snubs because we have 4, and we could do that as a full episode.
As a full episode,
and we can have it be the listener snub list.
Yes, I'm down with that too.
April Leonard, who was the guest a couple weeks ago, she added Heart, Dreamboat Annie to the list, to the listener list. So
absolutely. Now, speaking of April Leonard,
yes, she did send us an email.
Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, I'll read it. Let me get it pulled up here. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, well, I can read it because I have it in front of me.
You have it already in front of you? I'm like 1 second
it
away. I got it, actually.
Then go.
It's a race. Hey, Mike and JB. This is from April Leonard. Yeah. Hey, Mike and JB. I just got done listening to the most recent episode, and I'd like to ask your opinion on something. When you were talking about In the Court of the Crimson King, Justin mentioned that there was only one progressive rock album on the list, and that it was the Yes album you've already discussed. We've already talked about this, so it's not a spoiler to say that Moving Pictures by Rush is on the list. Justin is obviously way more knowledgeable about music than I am, so I was wondering if he just overlooked the album or if he wouldn't consider it to be progressive rock. I'm not really that big on classifications, in quotes or in parentheses. What is grunge music really? But Justin's comment just got me thinking. So what is your opinion? Is Moving Pictures an example of progressive rock? By the way, I'm very excited to listen to In the Court of the Crimson King. Maybe it will inspire me to dig my flute out again.
Yes, it will.
Congratulations on almost making it through the first 100 and enjoy your crappy champagne. I've tasted it and I can tell you firsthand that it's really awful. ...
Cheers, April.
Cheers, April.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So to answer your question, I am going to say that Moving Pictures is not an example of progressive rock.
And I'm going to say the same thing. And I think maybe we were a little unclear on our definitions of prog rock, just because I think some people interpret prog rock when they think progressive rock, they think progressive like they're moving the genre forward in some way. So they're adding some level of complexity to traditional rock, which classifies it as prog rock. So they're taking rock and they're adding weird time signatures and they're adding weird other instrumentation to make it progressive. But I don't think and I could be totally wrong about this, but I don't think that's what progressive rock means. I think what progressive rock is referring to is the content and the way it's presented. I think progressive rock is referring to, I think it very specifically means a style of rock and roll in which you have a musical idea and then you go on to another musical idea within the same song and you don't return to that previous musical idea. I think that's what progressive rock means. I
Well,
think as opposed to a traditional song structure, which is verse, chorus, bridge, double chorus. Progressive rock is section, another section that it transfers into another section, and they're unrelated, but they bridge together and they don't return like a traditional song structure. I think that's what prog rock means, and I could be wrong.
You know what's funny about that is, would you consider Animals by Pink Floyd prog rock?
Yeah, because it does that exactly. And occasionally
But
it'll
it
like
also-
return.
But it also breaks that rule, right? Because Pigs on the Wing Part 1.
Well, you can
and
you
Pigs on the
can
Wing Part
occasionally
2.
return, but it's basically, in my opinion, it means differing from the normal song structure in that it develops from section to section, and most often not returning to a previous, but it sometimes can. But
I like both definitions
yeah,
because I think that you're right. But I also think that, especially if you think about In the Court of the Crimson King,
yeah,
the instrumentation that they bring into that album, rock was not doing that. Jethro Tull wasn't around.
yeah,
Right. This was pre Jethro Tull. And it wasn't, and realistically with Jethro Tull, it was mostly the flute, right? You had unbelievable instrumentation from what was old boy's name? Ian McDonald.
yeah.
Fucking Ian McDonald. Ian, I'm gonna play 1,000 instruments today on this record. Fucking McDonald, you know.
Fucking Ian.
And I do think that is part of being progressive music, but
Yeah,
April is very specifically talking about Moving Pictures, and Moving Pictures to me is the record that the record labels decided they wanted Rush to actually sell records.
yeah. So she's not asking, is Rush a prog rock band? She's talking specifically about Moving Pictures.
Very specifically about Moving Pictures, because if you wanted to say, is Rush a prog rock band, and you listen to 2112, you would say, well, fucking
Obviously.
of course they're a prog rock band.
Yeah.
But if you're talking specifically about Moving Pictures is different because you still had that element of prog rock that was getting mixed into tracks like Red Barraquette. And what's the 6th and 7th track on that album? You do get that in Moving Pictures, but it's not the same as what you're talking about with In the Court of the Crimson.
It's probably the closest thing that Rush put out to like popular rock and roll kind of stuff, you know?
Well, and I think that even later on, when you get into Roll the Bones and you get Rex Todd is blowing my phone up right now. Rex, I swear to God, buddy, I love you. And I'm going to call you in just about 10 more minutes.
What's he saying?
Well, I don't know, because he's trying to call me. He's trying to call me. The camera eye, okay, Rex just sent me a text message.
What did it say?
Okay, now he's just laughing at me. Never mind. The camera eye, witch hunt, and vital signs. Even fuck that. YYZ, right? YYZ is on Moving Pictures, and YYZ is it's really prog rock, you
Big
know.
time.
But at the same time, that album has Tom Sawyer on it, which there's nothing more radio ready than Tom Sawyer. There's nothing more radio ready than
Limelight, which I love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love them. They have elements of prog rock in them, but at the same time, you very much had a studio that was trying to make Rush a really big band.
And there's traditional
worked.
song structure there too.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
And it worked. You know, Tom Sawyer is a fucking huge song at this point.
Yeah.
It's a huge song. So it worked out.
Yeah.
But that was also, that was a way to tease the mainstream into recognizing that prog rock is highly fucking listenable.
Yeah.
Highly listenable. Okay. So thank you, Heather. Thank you, Rex.
Thanks,
I will
guys.
call you in just a few minutes, Rex. And thank you, April, as well. So next week, we're going to jump into
the first 5 of the top of 400 to 300. Yeah.
Do you have yours pulled up yet?
Yeah. You want to hear it?
You can go.
Okay. So coming in at 400, we have the Go-Go's Beauty and the Beat.
At number 399, we're going to have Smile from Brian Wilson.
398 is the Raincoat self-titled record.
All right. 397. Stone Cold Instant Classic from 2019.
Undoubtedly.
We're going to be talking about where we all go asleep, or when we all fall asleep, where do we go, from Billie Eilish.
Yep, that's happening.
Yep. That's a thing.
396. Todd Rundgren. Something, anything.
So join us next week. Next week it's just going to be JB and I, and then we've got a couple of weeks where we're going to have some guests coming in.
Yeah, a couple guests in a row.
Yeah, so. And 3 or 4 weeks we're going to have a fucking heater coming up.
So I think that's 3 weeks from today, right?
I think it is.
So
3 weeks from today.
Next episode is just me and Mike. The one after that we have Heather Barkley coming on,
yep.
right?
Yep.
The one after that we have Mr. Riley Rath joining us.
Yep.
Because he's a big Pixies fan. No
Pixies
spoilers.
Fan. No spoilers.
And then the week after that is going to be a 4-person episode. I believe.
That's a heater. Yeah. That's going to be our first panel.
Yeah, we have a panel discussion.
It's really just a panel discussion show featuring the one and only Lee Stamper from onlylee.com.
Yeah.
And Sean Smith.
Who
when Sean Smith and JB Williams get into the room together, I'm actually kind of terrified because
I never met Sean Smith.
They haven't encountered each other before, but I'm worried. I'm hoping that this house holds together.
Fuck. Me too. It's my house.
And it's a really good one. I mean, it's a really, really good
week.
There's some fucking heaters on that week, and all the rest of them coming up too. So can't wait to talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening as always.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. We're gonna do the champagne one last time. That's not it. Damn it.
Happy 100, everybody.
Cheers, Mike. 100.
2, 3.
This sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Oh, bye. This is terrible. You fucking